be.
6-month moratorium, right?
12 month.
Or 12 month?
Yes,
I heard rumblings of it.
Good.
Like,
Yeah.
what was going on, but I've been trying to.
yeah.
The February 9th, 2026 Maumee Municipal Planning Commission is called to order. Roll, please.
I can do the roll here, so. Dye,
Yes.
Hornsby,
Yes.
Motika,
Yes.
Rife,
Yes.
Chanel,
Yes.
and Eurista.
Yes. Thank you.
And then just for your awareness, Mr. Calvary did resign, so there'll be somebody appointed to take his place, I would assume soon, by the mayor, so there'll be one more coming on board.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome Mrs. Hornsby and Mr. Chanel as our new members.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the November 24th, 2025 meeting. If there are any comments on the minutes, if not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve. Second.
Mrs. Rife made the motion to approve. Mrs. Hornsby, second. All right, I'll do the roll. Ms. Dye,
Yes.
Mrs. Hornsby,
Yes.
Mr. Motika,
Yes.
Mrs. Rife,
Yes.
Mr. Chanel,
Yes.
Mr. Eurista, yes. Motion carried. Old business, Mr. Leonbauer, anything?
There's really no old business per se. I did talk to you before the meeting too, as to the commission itself, as to, the chairman. There isn't any rules set forth in the Maumee codified ordinances or in the charter as to, time frame for election of a chairman or anything like that. And the commission would have the ability to set its own rules if you think you need any other rules for operation of its business. But, so if you want to address that at some point in the near future or tonight even, that
Yeah, I would
be
wait
one.
till we have the full membership present and maybe go through the elections then.
Okay.
What is the status of those ordinances we passed the last meeting regarding regarding the data centers? Did council just put them on hold too, or?
No, they did pass the conditional use provisions. So that's something that, in new business item B, review of conditional use regulations to start examining what use regulations should be in place for data centers. But they also did pass a moratorium, a 12-month moratorium. So obviously, at this point in time, there's a significant time period to come up with the regulations, provided they don't lift the moratorium at some sooner date, which I don't expect at this point, but
Wait and see.
correct.
Moving on to new business. First item is the review of the draft solar regulations. I'll start by asking the administration or their representative. Name, sir,
Good evening. I'm Jacob Barnes. Good to see everybody.
and you're with,
Zoning Solutions. I guess my question to the commission is, I was given this document, mine's in black and white, from SoulSmart, and has to go through and address and make comments on each of the points. Did everybody get that with our comments in blue, or hopefully in blue?
I got mine today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had sent that a while back. I wasn't sure how long you had it or not, if you're even ready to go through it, or if you want to go through it at a future date. But we did go through each comment and gave response on all those.
So you saw the draft that city had prepared, and you're prepared to comment on them. Is that what, do you want to go through that now, or do you?
If you guys would like to, I mean, this is the same thing that we were given 2 months ago, and I said then that I don't think that it followed the Soul Smart guidelines very well. I've spent some time on Soul Smart's website recently, and I watched a webinar that is all about, it was just best practices in planning and zoning for solar PV. And they mentioned that there are model solar ordinances for a lot of states within the Midwest, not for Ohio in particular, but there's one for Illinois, there's one for Indiana. And so I read through those, and the verbiage in those is just so much clearer than what was given to us, and it follows a lot of the guidelines that Soul Smart put together. So I just, like, reading through this, the one that was presented to us, I don't think the language is very clear. There are things that are talked about in multiple locations. I just think that there's a reason that there are experts that put together these model ordinances, and there's a reason that they do that, because they've worked, like these in particular, they worked with over 100 Midwestern communities over a period of 10 years and put these together based on the time they spent with those communities. So they're working from a deep base of knowledge on the issues that are common for solar. So, like, watching the video and reading through Soul Smart's website, and from the conversation that we had in November and October, where people and the community members came up and talked about solar, and everyone was pretty much in agreement that it's here. We need to have rules, we need to have regulations, and we want to promote solar because it is good. There are like 4 goals that I wrote down that came from Soul Smart. So, create development regulations that explicitly address solar development in its varied forms to help reduce barriers to solar development. Create by right installation opportunities for small rooftop and ground-mounted PV in all major zoning districts. Develop permitting processes that are predictable, transparent, and documented. And then, per the discussion with Allison from the Design Review Board, come up with something for design review. Like, they're looking for some guidance. So balance the goals of preserving character, defining features, and historic fabric with accommodating the need for solar access to the greatest extent possible. So, like, those are what I see as the 4 goals: making it easy for the community to put in solar. If it's a simple installation and it hits all the criteria that we put, it should be easy. The permitting process should also be easy. It should be very well documented. It should be clear. And I don't think that the ordinance that was given to us matches with those goals. I don't.
Did you receive the updated one since your last meeting? Because
The one that we were gotten,
a bunch of stuff.
No, the one we got had the same date from October on it.
And on this Soul Smart sheet with all of our comments
Or
in blue,
November.
like, we agreed with Soul Smart on everything except for 2 items, I think, that we had up for the council's discussion. You must not have gotten any of that.
So the new one, the one that we have is from November 18th.
Yeah, we went through this after your last meeting, and then this, and we specifically commented on each area, which we're pretty much in line with Soul Smart at the present date. So I guess I'm just curious on a few of your comments. You know, because I've drafted a lot of local solar guidance, so it's not like this is my first rodeo on this either.
Okay.
And I'm happy to take the commission's comments, but I think we did address Soul Smart's comments by and large on everything.
So Soul Smart came back to us. There was an email that Alan included in the packet from January 29th, and it still has 5 items where they say that, like, they reviewed what was given to them, and there were 5 items where they said that it still doesn't really meet with what they recommend. So, I mean, I don't know. The date on ours is from November, the draft that we were given.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about anything. I mean, we have about the most simple permit process that you could think of in the draft. I mean, this is all very simple, and used already in probably 4 or 5 local communities with great success.
Okay. Is it, I guess, is it, I mean, it depends, I guess, on what the community's goal is if the goal is to make solar really easy, or if the goal is to regulate it so that it can be used in certain places. Because I would think that would differ depending on the community's
Sure.
overall desire for solar.
Sure, and that's why a few of the comments on here are up for the commission's consideration. It's ultimately whatever you want, but I thought we did harmonize almost everything that we received already with the Soul Smart comments.
I got a little bit confused. Is there another draft that was after November, or do we have the most current one?
Yeah,
That should be the
ours says
latest.
November 18th.
Is there one after that? Or
I've sent the latest, and this was all like a month ago or more probably. I sent it a little bit after your last meeting. Got right on it.
Ours says November 18th. Is that the one, is that the most current?
It probably is the most current.
Well,
We
like-
went through about 3 or 4 different drafts. The date on yours may not be right now, and I can double check on that, but we addressed all the comments.
As Ms. Dye said, that email we got from Zach Wyman, I kind of agreed with some of their comments.
Yeah.
Do you have that? The email from Zach Wyman? Okay.
I mean, I'm happy to do whatever the city would like, and I thought we were on the right track on this.
Well, do we want to maybe just go through Soul Smart's assessment and address his comments in blue, and then just make sure, you know, they are in the, again, we're just discussing this code section, so we're not approving anything or sending anything to council, so
Right.
now's the time to have the discussion.
Yeah, this isn't a public meeting.
Right, figure out what's in there and what's not. So, I mean, it seems like, just looking at, okay, the purpose statement is included in the draft.
But it's really, I mean, at least in the one I was looking at, I don't see a real purpose statement.
Under chapter 1130.
Uh-huh,
It starts off with solar definitions.
yeah.
Right before that.
There's nothing before that.
Nothing.
You probably don't have the latest draft, then I'm not sure what
we were-
draft you have.
I believe we were sent an updated one today with this document that had the blue comments. The one that's sitting in front of, well, I
Oh.
printed this out, but this is the
I didn't
one
even
that was
open
sent.
that one, I just opened his comments thing.
Yeah, so I think their revised one was sent with those comments we received today.
And I had sent that a month and a half ago
Yeah,
or more,
I-
probably.
I'm new, so I just got it, but I don't know.
I was gonna
if
say,
that was-
and I was just looking at two different ones, so I'm like, I swore I saw it in there.
Yeah, the one that was included in the packet does not have a purpose statement.
No.
Sorry for the confusion. I just don't know which one you guys end up getting.
Yeah, so it's a Word document.
Okay.
The one that has the intent.
Or if you'd like to, I mean, we can come back at a future meeting so there's no more confusion. I know you have a lot of other things to do, but
We really,
I do assure we did go through everything and we did address all the Soul Smart comments.
so, I mean, even with that purpose statement, so I mean, the purpose statement that they included in the PZ1 from SoulSmart, it's a lot more in-depth than the purpose statement here. So it talks about why solar is important, how, what, like, goals that we want to meet. Like, that isn't really part of the purpose statement in your updated draft. So I guess
I like to just keep
would-
it simple without the fluff, honestly.
What?
But I like to just keep it simple to the point, you know, regulation's regulation, and usually there's not a lot of point in adding tons of extra fluff on sections, but we can add whatever that you'd like to.
I guess I would like if you could look at those model ordinances also and just see, because they're a lot more clear, at least to me reading them, and I mean, I read ordinances regularly. It just reads a lot clearer to me.
Where did you see the
So,
model ordinance?
They were on, SoulSmart has like a bunch of different ones
Oh.
you can look at.
The one thing I would caution the commission is remember where Soul Smart's coming from. They are 100% in promotion of this. I think we need to have a bigger vision on the entire zoning ordinances and really the entire city of Maumee and different areas. Soul Smart's, from what I'm seeing, their one and only thing is focused on full promotion of solar everywhere, no impediments anywhere at all. So I think that's the perspective they're coming from on it. You know, is that the right one? I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but definitely I think we'd want a balanced view on it in general.
I'd like to see the updated draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been kind of a little confusing of what's current, because even this one, it does have a purpose statement, it's still dated November 18, so it was confusing.
Yeah.
Ms. Dodd, can you tell us, has there been a lot of changes?
I am having a hard time telling, honestly. There is a purpose statement. I would need more time to go back and forth between the two.
Yeah, I'm happy to come back at a future meeting, give the commission time to make sure everybody's on the same page.
I'm okay with that.
Well, I mean, while we can certainly discuss it more, but while you're here, I mean, we can at least go through the things that Soul Smart raised in their email on the 29th, and I'd be interested in hearing what the and I understand, you know, Soul Smart wants to push this, and then we, as the city of Maumee, have to do what makes sense for us and, you know, find some happy medium. But, like, just curious, so, like, one thing they point out, the definition of small solar facility could be confusing and may read as if it also refers to residential systems, which affects how the rest of the zoning language for small solar facilities reads. So how do you go about, I guess, defining, I understand some of these terms, but others I don't, like what would be considered a small solar facility?
Those are typically going to be your light industrial permitted use, main use of the parcel facilities. But sorry, I haven't seen that email, so I'm not sure.
Oh, no, and you know,
When you read that definition, it almost sounds like everything, all the residential. When I read that small solar facility, it sounds like it includes everything up to 50 megawatts, but
The small solar facility is the prime permitted use in the industrial. That's what that's referring to. Everything else, like ground-mounted solar and other types of uses, mostly are accessory uses in comparison.
So in their recommended definitions, they had ground-mounted solar energy system accessory use, and then ground-mounted solar energy system primary use, which for me, that just reads a lot clearer, where there's less confusion within the definitions and how you refer to it throughout the document.
I would love to review that email and be able to
No,
go
this is
through
part
that.
of their definitions that they recommended in the initial document that we got from them.
so a small solar facility that does not refer to the residential.
Correct, and that's, I mean, pretty much across the board, communities, that's pretty common reference to, you know, the small solar facility in the industrial districts. It's a pretty common term.
Though I'm not sure that, you know, someone who's looking to put one on their house would know that.
Right.
Right, and that was originally, just for this commission's information, that was original language drafted from the state of Ohio to use in solar codes. That's where that originally came from.
But again, it can be misleading.
Yeah, if it could say industrial or along with it, it'd make more sense to me.
Yeah, I'd be glad to look at that.
So, and again, I know that you haven't seen this email, and I was just looking at it today, but, for example, they put out, and again, I understand they don't want to limit any of this, really. You know, that the goal is to make it as easy as possible for everyone, avoid government interference, that sort of thing. But something that I would be curious to hear your explanation is they point out that limiting parcel size may prevent residences with less than 1 acre lot size, which is likely most of the residential lots in Maumee, that don't have optimal roofs for solar, but they do have space for ground-mounted system for installing solar. So what's the thinking behind only allowing ground-mounted for parcels that are greater than 1 acre in size?
And that's up for commission discussion on the 1 acre in size. That's what's typically in most communities, just because of sheer space requirements. But yeah, if the city wants to go less on that, we're totally flexible.
And what are we, when we talk about a ground-mounted solar energy system, for your typical house in Maumee, what does that look like?
Typically about 300 square feet, roughly.
And are we talking like it looks like a little transformer in the backyard? Like,
That'd be like, let me see, 15 by 20 size of solar panels.
Okay.
So 300 square feet of solar panels.
and it's just solar panels literally just
Ground
mounted to the
mounted,
ground
yeah.
and,
You don't see too many of those, but I've seen them. A lot of those are usually out in the countryside, but I have seen a few of those units around. Most people, like in Maumee, I would think, would probably go with some type of roof-mounted setup.
right.
And I think on that, the main question to the commission would be is, do you want to allow them on the entire portion of the roof? Do you want, right now we had it as 50% and not facing the right-of-way, but, that's totally up for discussion as well. Because that's probably where you're going to get most of your solar in Maumee.
Our roof-mounted system.
Yeah, and so this does restrict it to only the rear or side lots or side yards. So half of Maumee wouldn't be allowed to do solar because their property's not large enough and their house is facing the wrong direction.
I guess that question would also be, would you want to approve solar panel, in somebody's front yard between their house and the street? I've yet to see that.
Well, no, I'm
but-
talking about roof mounted. So I mean, you can't do front-facing roof mounted anywhere according to this, right?
Well, that's up for discussion,
Okay.
yeah.
And that's just simply like an aesthetics decision, right?
I think that's ultimately where a lot of communities got that from, to not face the right of way, but it does restrict, especially depending on which direction your house is
Right,
facing.
right. And I'm assuming, the solar panels we see today are probably much less visible than what they used to be 20 or 30 years ago, right? Or are they?
Well,
is the
roof mounted's
engineer-
roof mounted, but
Right.
I think the main difference in technology is they're going to be thinner for
Right.
sure, but visibility wise, similar, maybe slightly less.
Well, and I think the difference is people are used to them now, so it's not really as much of like a topic of, oh, that's ugly. It's more like, well, that's kind of cool. They're doing solar and it's good for the environment. It raises your home value. They've shown that. I don't see a reason that we would not allow it anywhere on front-facing roofs.
In your experience of writing these codes, I guess my concern with front-facing or towards the right-of-way, is there ever glare issues? Obviously, with the angles, there probably isn't, but is that such a justification for why these communities do not allow front-facing or right-of-way facing?
That could be part of it. I mean, we have a little bit of glare in here, but it's really hard to regulate glare itself. But yeah, that could be one of the rationales for that.
I mean, and
So,
I
well-
guess I'm thinking towards the glare towards a driver, not towards somebody else's house. And I don't think I've ever experienced it, but that's also because I don't know I've ever driven through a neighborhood with them on the front of all the houses.
So, my research that I did showed that it's no different than a window, and we don't regulate windows on the front of properties, so there's not really a reason to regulate solar panels for glare purposes.
Okay.
Can you explain what happens during conveyance? If somebody has a solar panel, wants to sell their house, what happens then?
I don't think that would change conveyance on the buying and selling of real estate, would it?
Well, is it something that stays? Like, is it a fixture that stays?
A lot of that, sorry, I misread your question. So yeah, a lot of that is stuff that would stay.
Okay.
I'm assuming maybe somebody could take it with them, but I've never heard of that happening.
Okay. What if the purchaser doesn't want it or something like that? What happens then?
Ultimately, that'd probably be between the two parties, but,
Is there like a contract for the seller?
I've never heard of
No?
that.
Okay.
Just like another accessory, I think it's more closely to like a shed or a pool or something like that.
So something
Comes
to
along with it.
write in, essentially.
Right.
Got it.
I mean, everything I've read said that it will increase, it'll sell faster with solar than not. So I don't really see that being an issue.
And dismantling wouldn't damage any property?
It shouldn't, if it's installed correctly. I mean, yeah.
I always think of like skylights that get put into roofs and then they damage.
So every house in my subdivision has solar in one shape, way, shape, or form. My house had solar shingles on it, and those, I do not recommend those at all. There is no such thing as an efficient solar shingle. I had to remove those, unfortunately, but I'm probably going to replace it with solar panels. So I see where you're coming from on that. They're not ugly, and you can make them look really beautiful on very nice houses. So yeah, I don't think that's an aesthetic part. I think some communities view it as such, but I don't think it's necessarily true as far as pure aesthetics.
What subdivision are you in? Is it new construction?
No, it's actually 15 years old, Deer Valley in Monclova. That was Decker and Moline that did that one.
Interesting.
It was labeled as like a, energy efficient subdivision back when they started it.
Very cool.
95% of residential homes in Maumee are less than an acre.
Yeah.
Probably even more than that.
Right.
And if they can't have them in the backyard, and if they can't have them on the back roof, then I think we ought to allow them on the front roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my inclination.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think of like houses that I drive by that, I don't know.
Or
There's
we
one
could
in
make it less than
Perrysburg
an
on
acre.
Second Street, has them in the front. You want to see one.
They're on River Road.
River Road.
Yeah,
too.
in Maumee. There's across from the ice cream place. Jody's. Oh, Jody's are in the back? Are they? Okay.
And we'd be happy to make that adjustment, bring it back to the next meeting and talk more about it too. Because I think honestly, if you want to allow it anywhere on the roof, that's totally fine.
Can you explain the justification for 50% of the roof, or was that something previously discussed?
It wasn't, but that I think was right along with the other regulations. A lot of communities that allow them only on side or rear also have that 50%. So obviously that 50% would probably go away if you allowed them anywhere.
Question?
Yeah, I'll just state that I think during the design review, someone had.
Your name, sir?
Isaiah Gonzalez. So I think during one of the design review boards,
Say it again?
Isaiah Gonzalez.
Isaiah Gonzalez, okay.
During one of the design review boards, someone submitted plans for whatever. They were in historic district Maumee, and they preferred them not to have it on the front facing the street to preserve historic value. That'd probably be the one instance, I think you can zone like that area, because that's what they liked it being there, but just didn't want it front facing the street because of, if it's one of those addresses that are historic, in the district. So that was one thing that they reviewed very hard, like, you can do them, but just please don't have them on the front porch or whatever like that. So that'd be one stipulation, I guess, in that area.
So when Allison came and talked to us about it, she was really looking for some guidance because one of the things she said is, first of all, it should follow the Secretary of the Interior's for guidance, which is the National Park Service. They have historic standards. And then she also said that one thing that she's seen in other places is that it's only for buildings that are like historically significant, not necessarily every building
Yeah.
within the historic district.
That's what I meant, yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's what they were agreeing on, that address itself is an older home.
Right.
Right.
So I was trying to look into some other historic districts that have sort of regulations, and honestly, it's kind of all over the board. A lot of them don't allow any on front facing and anywhere in the historic district, and others, I think they kind of review case by case. And so I was going to suggest, and I don't know if this is even possible, but could there be like a group that's people from the Environmental Commission and the historic review, or the design review board, and they come up with like how it's handled for Maumee within the historic district, like working together kind of, because we do need guidelines for them so that it's kind of like standardized as for review processes.
Right. Like I said, that's the only area I think would be more concern for front and face.
Yeah.
Like I live on Northfield. There's people on our street that already have them front face, because this is before
Yeah,
this is being established. But I would look into that and like fine tune that part more, because
yeah.
people living over there, they don't want to see it, I guess. That'd be up to for consideration.
And so I think a lot of times it says somewhere in the solar ordinance that within the historic district, you have to follow the design review guidelines or something along those lines, so that it doesn't spell it out within the solar ordinance, but it tells you you have to do these additional things found elsewhere within the code.
Right.
Or,
I think you're correct. I think that is in there somewhere. I don't know where it is right offhand, but there was a reference to that.
And everything in the current draft, I mean, anything that would be going in the historic district would be subject to review by the design review board, correct?
Correct.
I think wasn't it worded? It may have been worded that if it wasn't approved by the.
yes, it was. If it wasn't approved by the administrator, then it would go to design review board.
Right, so there's a process that they could apply, you know, if it meets whatever standards are set forth, but it doesn't have to go to design review at that point.
Yeah.
But could some of this be cured by not being so rigid on the acre requirement? I mean, do we want to say you can't have a ground-mounted system unless you have an acre? Because as we've said, that does exclude almost everybody.
Well, I thought the compromise would be letting them have it on the front row.
Well, I guess that's it, is that but maybe in the historic district, we're saying that that wouldn't be
Oh,
possible.
yeah.
I mean, my house, for instance, I think would be considered in the historic area, and our roof faces the wrong way.
Yeah, mine too. But my house was built in 1925 and has vinyl siding, and I mean,
Right, oh, when they brought electricity, my house
Yeah.
had gas lamps, and there's still one that we kind
Yeah.
of kept for.
I just mean like a lot of other things have already been changed on a
Right,
lot of the
sure.
houses in the historic district.
But I guess I was just getting
Yeah.
to whether we want to be so rigid on the 1 acre, because that pretty much means we wouldn't have ground-mounted ones at all.
Yeah,
Well, would if the idea is that, okay, we don't want to limit people if they want to go the solar route and spend the money to install panels, whatever. But would there be scenarios where if we got rid of the 1 acre restriction, so people could have ground mounted in their backyard, or rear, you know, not front facing, are there people that wouldn't have any other option except to have front facing solar panels?
I'm sure there probably are.
Right.
Probably are some examples in the city, I'm sure.
So I don't know if you would want the code section to say
I guess the
ground mounted or rear facing, or if someone can show that they have no other option, then at that point, maybe the city would allow,
yeah.
if we're saying, for whatever reason, we wouldn't want them to be front facing. But
And I know-
again, like Isaiah said, I drive down that street all the time and I've never paid attention or noticed solar panels on the front facing roof of someone's home.
And I think under the accessory structure provisions that we currently have, I don't think you're allowed to put in accessories. There's a limit on the accessory structures in the front yard or some other limitations. So you'd have to look at those code sections too and see if, I mean, you're going to allow them in somebody's front yard or not, or just in the, because that would be the other issue then.
I think the backyard would be better than the front yard if it's a
But
ground-mounted.
if they say that's the only
yeah.
place, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, we don't want the front yard,
Right,
no.
right.
Just so you don't make it too broad that then they say, oh, it doesn't say I can't put them in the front yard and.
If you step forward, please, and give us your name.
I guess hi, I'm Margot Puppenberger. I guess it's less of a question, just a couple comments. So, I mean, just like you could say side yard or backyard for the panels, you could also say side yard or backyard for ground mounted. I guess in response to what you were saying, Alan. But then, like, when it comes to, you know, front facing in historic districts, they are, I mean, I don't know if you could get as many fingers on your hand of houses in the historic area that actually have historic materials on the roof. Who has slate or cedar shingles or standing seam roof from way back when. I mean, most people have asphalt shingles now. So then to say you can't have a solar panel on the front because you're in the historic district and it doesn't fit the history of the district or the house. Or, you know, how many homes have a TV antenna? Those didn't come when the house was first built. How many homes do we have restrictions on direct TV, satellite dishes on houses? I mean, I feel like those are all things, like all modern technology that should really be thought about when limiting so much in the historic district. Especially when it comes to a very basic need that is skyrocketing in cost and is going to help people kind of with their day-to-day expenses, and it's not going to be a huge obstruction on the building.
Well, that's what I was getting to when I said like vinyl siding. I mean, that changed how my house looks, and I don't see it changing anytime soon.
Ms. Poffenberger, so you're saying we should allow them in historic districts? Is that what I'm understanding?
I mean, with all the other changes we allow, I don't know why when solar comes up, we get pinpointed on it's not a historic thing. Like all these other things that happen in the historic area that come nowhere near the materials and the, you know, things that we use. I mean, I will say, like, we didn't have cars back then either. There's cars in the driveways, there's garages. Like, I mean, you could go on and on, but things that are allowed. So why would solar not be?
But it can be aesthetically pleasing and blend with the roofs, right? It wouldn't just blatantly stick out. Are there different colors that people can pick from
Right, like it
depending
wouldn't
on?
be like bright pink solar panels.
I have not seen different colors yet, but maybe that's coming in the future.
And it's not saying
all
you're not
flat.
allowed in the historic district, right? It's just saying it would be, if denied, then it would be subject to the approval of the design review board, right?
They don't rust or fade or anything like that after several years? Or like start looking bad or like rust down the roof or anything like that?
I've not seen that.
That's good.
Not saying it's impossible, but I
Yeah.
haven't seen that.
Well, and didn't at our last meeting, I asked, like, what's like the shelf life of these things? And they said,
Yeah,
like,
25 years.
like the length of a
The
shingle
length of a
roof.
roof? Oh,
Yeah.
wow, cool.
And
Yeah.
so like people generally, they might get them when they're getting a new roof. and
Yeah,
just do it
or
all
they
at
said
That makes sense.
if your house is 10 years old, or your roof is 10 years old, they tell you to just replace the roof and do the solar panels at the same time.
once. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I would agree that if we're going to allow it on all four direct bases of the roof, or more if you have different types of roofs, we should not limit that to non-historic areas. I think if it becomes a design issue, that would be outside of our scope. That would be a design review board issue that they would review. You know, if it's a historic structure or potentially something where somebody might have a two-story house with on the first story, a canopy over their porch. That's something that they would have to determine if they're going to allow that. But for us to dictate that, you know, whatever percentage of houses in Maumee that are in Uptown or in the historic district can't have solar panels on potentially the only face that's viable for them, I don't think is our responsibility. I think we should be allowing it, and then if it's a design review issue, then it would fall under design review.
And that's why I was saying, I think like a task force from design review and the environmental commission come up with like how they make their decisions. Because Allison was looking for guidance because she said every time it comes to design review, it's like they have nothing to base their decision off of. They're always just making it up as they go. So kind of I don't know if there's a way we can say, we would like you to come up with these standards, or I don't know, give them a way to do that.
Was there a mock-up on like a rendering of a house in Maumee at all? Like a mock-up of what it,
No. And Alan, what would so it would only go to the design, if we're talking about the historic district, it would only go to the design review board if an initial application were to be denied or limited in part by the urban planning manager. What would the urban planning manager be looking at
Yeah.
when deciding, okay, I'm going to deny it or limit it in part? I mean, are they looking at the historic district code to say like, okay, this is not going to comply with?
Or is it just what's in this ordinance?
I think, you know, as part of that, there would be a set of rules for the historic district, obviously, that they would follow and apply, and if it fell within those parameters, then it would be approved. If it didn't, or they wanted something more expansive than was allowed, under the historic district standards, that then it could go in front of design review. So there would be a set of standards that would need to be in place for the urban planning manager or zoning manager.
I think for the applicants too. I mean, you want to
Right.
come in and have something
Right.
approved. If you have no
Yeah.
idea, you waste a lot of time.
Correct.
And I think that's where it would become important, because certain things, are limited in the historic district, but if there's a set of okay, if you want solar panels and you're in the historic district, this is what the urban planning manager is going to consider. And then
Oh,
that
right.
should, for the most part, eliminate the need of the design review board to weigh in, because people will know going in, like, okay, this is approved or this is not.
Correct. And if their circumstances require something different or can't fall within those guidelines for whatever reason, that's where design review board would come into play, be able to make a determination or rework it or whatever they come up with that may fall outside those guidelines.
I think I'm hearing that maybe the historic district needs looked at some point for either some updates, some little tweaks, or clarifications at least.
Right, and I don't, the city should not have the people on the design review board, feeling like they have to wing it or don't know what to base decisions on. I mean, we don't want any area of government to be doing that, so.
Exactly, yep.
And do you, in your experience, I mean, in towns and municipalities that have a historic district, are solar panels something that's limited in the way that certain other things would be limited, or are solar panels generally like, look, it's on the roof or it's in the backyard? Like, where's the balance there?
So in general, solar is such a new technology still that it really has not made its way to a whole lot of historic districts, one way or the other. So I think in the next few years, we'll start to see a little bit more clarity on that. I'm curious as to like what the city of Toledo will do, because I know they have a lot of exact, specifications on some of it. So I would think that knowing what I've seen in, historical districts, they're kind of all over the map, depending on the area, depending on the district. So I could see some areas definitely limiting the solar panels or allowing them just on the back. But I think this was great discussion. I think why not have it on the front if they can be integrated in a correct way? I don't see a huge issue with it.
Megan, in your experience as a realtor, I mean, you're showing a house next to a house that has solar panels on the front or is that something that buyers look at one way or the other? That
I mean, it's just depends if it's external obsolescence or not. If it blends in and is aesthetically pleasing and it gives a benefit to the homeowner that could be passed to the next homeowner, I don't think people would shy away from it. But I guess I would love to see like a rendering or a mock-up of like an actual house in Maumee and what like different options would look like, because then maybe we could make a determination on the aesthetics.
so they
If
would
it
look
does.
at like, okay, I don't want to live next to an eyesore if there's
Oh,
massive solar panels in the front yard. I don't.
no.
I think in the front yard would be
In the front
different
yard, it might
than
be a
the
little bit
roof.
weird, but on the roof, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe if they were just in the yard, I don't think people would have a problem with that either.
I mean, I know I've heard anecdotally that when someone puts solar panels, it's a lot more likely that their neighbors will put solar panels on too. Just because people hear about the benefits, they like the way they look.
It's not doing a glare, somebody mentioned a glare,
Yeah.
into somebody else's house or anything, right? So,
I think you make a great point that not all solar is equal either. It could be done tastefully,
yeah,
classy maybe. I don't know if that's the right word, but
yeah, for sure.
or in another situation, it could be like what the heck were they thinking?
I mean, I notice satellite dishes as being gaudy, and I walk an uptown loop almost every day, 3 miles, and I'm like, why'd they do that to their house? You know what I mean? So if it's aesthetically, I would be for it if it was aesthetically pleasing, for sure.
And a lot of what I've read about also is if you keep them on the majority of the roof in an organized fashion where they all line up, you can kind of try and make it so that they have to follow certain minimal aesthetic guidelines for it.
Correct. And when you get into aesthetics too far, it's very, very hard, as
Yeah.
you all know, to regulate anything that has to do with aesthetics, because it's all kind of in the
Right, but
eye of
in
beholder.
Yeah, it's very
the design
subjective.
review board, they could choose to have standards like that.
Yep, I agree.
I just had a question, if you could give me some examples. What sort of, if someone were installing it on like a flat roof, and I saw there's like a 5-foot leeway that you have, but it would require like a visual, like what types of visual buffers would be put on like flat roofs?
The only thing I usually see is like the parapets around the border. But I know that they made a comment on there because I think that they were trying to say that we did not allow them on flat roofs, which we didn't really specify. We allowed them on flat roofs, angled roofs, really any type of roof. So yeah, if you think that there should be extra regulation on that, but right now we're kind of already allowing it. And most buildings, I hope my explanation made sense here. Most buildings are not built out to the maximum height allowed in that zoning district. They're usually way less than that. So that's why I don't think there's going to be a huge issue if really anybody with a flat roof in the city wants to do it, because 99% of the cases, I think they have space to do it.
Okay.
And that'd be even more hidden probably, right?
Right, that's what I
Yeah,
would
you wouldn't
think.
even, yeah, that'd be even better.
Right.
One of the things that I read was that a lot of times there are rules about like your mechanical systems, and they're allowed to protrude a certain amount from a roof, and that a good guideline is to allow solar to protrude the same amount that other like mechanical systems are allowed to. So if a mechanical system's allowed to go a little bit past that height, then the solar should be able to do it to the same amount that is allowed for mechanical system, like the HVAC.
Oh, go ahead.
I think in our code, actually, the mechanical systems under the design standards now are required to be screened from view from the street.
But they also don't have to have solar access to function properly. So that's my concern with screening, is that you take away some of this, like you make the panels less effective if you are screening the amount of solar radiation that can get to them. That's my concern with screening, which is what they brought up here also.
But it's just another area of the code that would have to be addressed as to whether you're going to amend the design review standards along with the solar panel code, as part of that. And I think one of the things we talked about earlier too was the coverage issue. And, is there a limit on coverage that's going to impact like a fire department response if they got to get up on the roof to vent a fire? That I think that's part of the reason that they don't allow complete coverage anyways. Because
Have you seen anything with that? I mean, the only thing I really read about fire is that you need to make sure that, like with screening, you can actually make it harder for someone to turn off the solar if the screening gets in the way of access. That's the only thing I really read about concern in regards to fire.
One thing that we could always add is something to the effect that, if it's in a non-residential building that, just subject to fire department review, so that they at least have an eye on it. They can see, hey, it's good, bad, or what else, or just keep it for their record. So if there is a fire or an incident, they have the plans, they know where the panels are and everything. So that could probably really be easily added to this if we want the extra review from the
I
fire.
feel like adding a fire department review is a little excessive. I mean, I don't know. To have every single solar panel project have to go to the fire department?
I'd say only non-residential
Oh,
on that.
okay.
Right.
Sorry.
Can we get the updated draft and make our comments and discuss them at the next meeting?
Could you take our feedback and update it further and present
Yeah.
something to us?
I'd be happy to. I was just going to ask that. If
Yeah.
you'd like me to kind of take this whole discussion, get it into a nice draft, and then I'll get it to Alan so it can get right out to you guys ASAP, so you have plenty of time to look at it, and we can talk about it again at your next meeting.
And I will send those model codes that I read also to Alan, and he can forward them to you.
Yeah, please. Any codes, I love reviewing them, and I think in any code you can take, some of the best parts out of that and make for a great code.
Anything that you change, can you put it in red then, or anything that's been controversial, so we can highlight on those?
Yeah, I can, everything that's different from this draft that you have in your hands, I will put in red, so you can see a little bit of a difference there. But I guess almost every part of it has the potential to be controversial, so I won't do the whole thing, though. So. Any other questions or comments?
See if anybody from the audience has any comments? No?
Thank
Thank
you
you,
all.
Jacob. So we're going to meet next month, Mr. Leanbauer? Do we make sure that Jacob can be here?
Right. I believe they did send out meeting schedules
Oh, that's
for
right, yeah.
a good portion of the year, so I think you are on next month.
The
I might
23rd
not
at
be
7
available.
PM.
What
The
date?
23rd at 7 PM. That's-
March 23rd at 7 PM.
Okay,
Jacob?
got that.
Well, guess you can fly back then.
You can attend remotely.
We'll be back like at 9 p.m. that night.
All right. What's the next date?
The next date would be the
April 27th.
April 27th, so I didn't know if you wanted to try to get something in place before spring rolls around. I know
I think if we could review it for the next meeting, that would be good, and we could discuss it, and,
right,
Usually
even
our
if
meetings
Jacob's not
are
available.
the fourth Monday.
yeah.
What about the fourth Monday in March?
That's when it is.
Yeah, that's when it's good.
That's when
He's
it's
going to be in
here.
Florida the
23rd is the
first.
fourth Monday?
Yep.
Yeah,
What?
There's a fifth Monday if you want to switch it to the 30th. But if everybody wants to check their calendars, and
that works for me.
Not a council meeting?
Third Monday,
No?
no,
There is a third Monday also. That's true.
the 16th or the 30th.
the third Monday is a council meeting.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
First and third
I
is
guess
council.
it is.
Jacob, March 30th?
Okay.
That worked great for,
That replaces the meeting on the 23rd.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
March 30th. I cannot make that, shoot.
Say again?
I may or may not be able to make March 30th.
well, do we want to schedule it knowing, I mean, as long as we know we have a quorum, and you could always
Yeah, totally.
submit your comments and
Yeah.
everything based on the
Yep.
draft that we'll get.
Okay. And you said replacing March 23rd?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you're available by phone,
Okay.
they can connect you in that way, or
Yep.
we could put you on the big screen and Zoom you in or something too.
Sounds good.
Okay, anything else on solar? The next item on the agenda is to review the conditional use regulations. This is one that I think we need more time on to review. And Mr. Lombauer pointed out that if you go farther into this, they discuss special requirements for the different types of developments. Sweepstake, terminal cafe,
Solid waste facilities, which I'm surprised that we would
Yeah.
even allow those.
but there's none for solar.
It's not going to really be for solar. It would be more because the last time that, the last ordinance that was passed was as to data centers. And so it's really just trying to come up with a format in the, you pass the code that said they're allowed in certain zoning districts as a conditional use. So we would, because of the moratorium, you got a lot of time, but we
Right.
would just need to determine how do you want to proceed as to coming up with conditional uses for data centers? What kind of things would you require?
So we're looking at this through the lens of like a data center and what
Correct, you would have a
language changes we would want to propose to.
you would have specific conditional use regulations that whoever, the planning commission would use to determine if somebody did apply for a conditional use for a data center, these are the things you would have to, steps that you would need to complete, or, things that would be allowed, not allowed, et cetera.
And I know the state recently announced they're like putting together a task force or something in response to a lot of the communities kind of pushing back on data centers. is one of the goals of that to maybe propose like model language, or they're like zoning commissioner associate, like I know for school board, there's like the superintendents have like draft language that they may propose for when the state requires some new policy related to school busing or whatever, and they'll say, hey, here's language that a lot of is that the same with something like this? Could we expect the state to be, or is it better to just, no, we're not gonna rely on whatever the state will do, we need to figure out what works best for us?
I think you're referring to House Bill 646, which finally came out, and I think it's not specifically listed under that House bill, but I'm hoping that some type of language will come out of that. And, because it's basically a commission that's going to get together and study, all these different, potential effects and
Right.
different issues.
Energy changes and all that, right?
So, yeah, I think that I'm hoping that that's going to be an effect from that House bill.
Okay,
And they talked at the council meeting that Lucas County is also doing a study, so I kind of looked into that a little bit. They said it's going to take 6 to 8 months to complete that study, and I feel like trying to come up with the conditional use factors before we have that kind of information just doesn't really make sense. I don't see the city reversing the moratorium before the year, so I think that we take our time.
But it's just something really
Yeah.
to put on your radar
Right.
that it's going to have to occur, by
Prior
the
to
end of
that.
this 12 months, so you can at least start looking at how you want to do it. I know city council, the Maumee City Council is trying to determine, what they're going to do, if they're going to do a study on data centers too, which is hard to do when you talk about it, because there's so many different factors, like the power facilities are regulated by the Ohio Power Siting Board, which is outside of our jurisdiction. We can't override what they do. I don't know if you saw in Middleton Township, the Ohio Power Siting Board approved a gas-fired generator for them, on an expedited basis. So those are some of the things you can't regulate. And then there's other things that we could regulate. And the data centers are changing as to, air-cooled, water-cooled, coolant. Some of them are called stack, where they're multi-level data centers now. So there's a wide variety of them. And I did go to New Albany for that. When Lucas County took some people down there, and I went through that, and, they've had, I think Discover was their first data center back in 2015, has been there. And it's a smaller facility, but most of the issues that they have with data centers aren't really noise or, any kind of light pollution or any of those type of issues. The bigger issue is they get water and sewer through Columbus, and the water discharges are too clean for Columbus, that they don't really want to take in clean water and have to treat it. And so the EPA is even looking at, discharging into creeks, detention ponds, versus sending it back through a sewer treatment plant. So their experience has been environmentally hasn't been too difficult, but they obviously they have all different sizes of data centers there, and a lot of them are in a more of an industrial
right.
park
So I was
type
just thinking,
area.
there's not much residential around there, right? At least in like the New Albany area.
There's some that abut residential areas, but most of them are confined, and then they have also the Intel factory going in there. It's not a data center, but the chip manufacturer. So.
Right. And
In
were
that same-
those, I don't think any of those went through as a conditional use, right? Those were all
No,
just
permitted
zoned
use,
for
and
that,
they,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, they sought to attract them there
Right.
as part of their economic development, and they did new community authority, like tax on all these data centers, so they've collected, revenue through that source, and did some other things as to trying to determine, if it's a building of this size, and if it was a office building with so many workers, it would generate this much, in revenue, and came up with a formula that they pay each year, to make up the difference, because it's a lot of space without a lot of employees. They all have their own, like, fire departments internally, because they don't want the fire department running in and spraying water on everything, and so it's like a different world, though.
Yeah.
But you can't get in one, so you don't, what it actually looks like inside, nobody knows, so.
Are we aware of any communities in Ohio that have conditional use for their data centers? Has that been researched?
I know there's
There are more
communities
that
that have
have,
changed it to
but they
conditional use,
haven't.
but I don't think there are any that have had a data center saying, okay, we're
I guess,
in as a conditional.
I
yeah, where I'm
was
coming
trying-
from is, so we have something to look at prior. I mean, obviously, these studies that the county and the state might be doing are going to be great as guidance, but if we have something to reference ahead of time until that comes out.
I tried to find if there were any that had already conditional use requirements for data centers. I couldn't find anything.
Okay.
I've seen a few on this end, but the ones that have it do not have any active applications yet
Okay.
either. But we can get a conglomeration of different, guidelines and conditional use stuff and see what you like, see what you don't like, and kind of take it from there too.
Another interesting thing that I read is, so Detroit, and then it said also Chicago and Atlanta, they did an ordinance in 2023 that required large commercial buildings to report annual energy and water use, just like in an effort to be more transparent with high resource use sectors. So, I mean, I think it would be interesting if we looked at something like that, just so that we're aware if if they do come in, like, we know, and we can kind of discuss the energy and the water that they're using, and just a way to be aware, because I don't think we'll know if we don't have something like that in place. Just something maybe for council to keep in mind.
So, Mr. Lehmbauer, is getting back to the conditional use regulations, you're saying that you would prefer we just focus on the data center? Or do you want us to review the whole ordinance as it is now? And
I mean, if there's other things that are in there, like I said, when I saw the solid waste facilities too, whether you even want to continue to allow that as a potential
Conditional use
use.
at all.
Yeah.
Because of the limited amount of space that we would have for one anyways. I don't think anybody's really going to locate one here, but it might be best to look at the whole zoning code as it relates to solid waste facilities and whether it should be, removed as a use. And, and then would take it out of the conditional use. But if there's any other, requirements, I think one of the things that keeps coming up is there's been a lot of applications for use of space for counseling centers, which are more like drug rehab facilities, and they end up consuming a lot of resources from the police, EMS, even if they're not inpatient, and whether we should start looking at regulations for them as to that they need their own security, that, some kind of pay some of the costs, when there are multiple responses, because some of the facilities, and some of them changed the way they operate a little bit, but it's been difficult for police and fire at times with some of even the daytime counseling facilities.
It would be another area, it would be nice to see what other communities have done, see what kind of language they've used.
Right. But the main focus really for today was, like I said, the data center part, that we're going to have to put something together for that.
so are we going to wait a while on the conditional use, or since there's other studies being done, or do you
What?
want to address it at the next meeting, or?
If you could gather some language that, like you said, how with the solar, I mean, we can look at other communities and we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can take parts we like and leave out parts we don't. But if there's other communities in Ohio or Michigan that are facing the same thing or have updated their conditional use requirements, I mean, I think it's a good thing to start looking at those. Bring them to our next meeting.
Jacob, are you on the clock for this?
I'll gladly bring that back to you.
Okay.
We'll get that information around. So if there's nothing further, then we just get into the adjournment. I can read the roll and be on our way, so.
I think we're ready to adjourn. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Rife, can I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Hornsby, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We're adjourned. Don't do the roll for the adjournment.
Yeah.